Before we get into the story today, I'd like to invite you to stay after it has ended, as today we are joined by a fellow master of horror, DrCreepen, for a short story set within the same universe created by the author Shadow Swimmer. I believe you'll adore the Doctor, as he turns narrations into an art form. You can easily find the link to his channel in the description below. Now let's peek in and see how our soldier's doing. I unsteadily creep over to my giant slab of a door and stick my eye up to the peephole to find the stony figure of Gabe Parr staring back at me. Right, drinks at 9. Completely forgot. Can't imagine how. Ow, my head. With a little effort, I managed to work the deadbolts, then heaved the door open enough to admit the school guard. "Evening, Mike. You about ready to..." He stops on the threshold as he catches sight of my trashed features. "The hell happened to you, boy? It looked like you either decided to challenge a billy goat in the headbutting contest or made a fuss at my first wife. Same difference. You get into a fight or something? Really need to kick some banger ass?" No, Gabe. No fights. Well, I guess it was a fight. That's not where I got these. I kicked the shit out of those guys. Couple junkies. Good. What in the blazes did you get yourself into? There's a pretty nasty gash on your noggin there. I was out running the trails at school when it started to rain. Slipped and took a headed to the tree stump. It's fine, I shouldn't even need stitches. It's like hell though. Beers are helping with that. Gabe steps farther into the apartment. A single raised eyebrow the only sign of his disapproval, and he sees the heaping remains of tonight's binge littering the ground in my living room. "Guess you went and got started without me." "Sorry. Totally slipped my mind that we were going out. One with a head injury and all. Pretty sure I should call off going out for tonight. Well, you're more than welcome to hang out for a bit. You want a beer? There's more in the fridge. I need another one too. Here, I'll go get mine." "Nah, hang on there, Mike. Just hang on. I don't want a beer, and I'm sure you don't need any more either. Looks like you already drank enough for the both of us tonight anyway." Takes my arm, leading me back over towards the easy chair. "Why don't you take a seat over here, and I'll go wrestle up a pot of coffee right quick and help you sober up some." "Yeah?" Hot anger flushes across my face. I hate being patronized. "Well, how about screw you instead? What do you think about that, Gabe? I don't want to sober up. It's my house, you piece of..." Gabe's grip on my arm becomes suddenly hard and painful. A dull gray steel slides over the normal sparkle of his eyes. "Mike, I'm going to stop you right there. You've obviously been through some stuff tonight, and I aim to talk to you in a bit here and help you through that. But I'm not going to let you be self-destructive about it. Now, you got two options. You can take a seat nicely and wait for me to go make a cut, or I can put you in a seat and go do the same. Same result, different way of getting there. You're smart enough to know which one will be less grief all around. Now, before you start getting ideas about trying to kick my ass too, you should probably consider something. You might be hot stuff with a couple junkies like the pair you ran into tonight. Hell, you could maybe hang with me on a good day. But right now, in your condition, you really don't have much of a choice in the matter." I became aware that Gabe has put himself in a calculated position where he possesses all the leverage to make both of our body weights work in his favor. "So, what is it going to be?" As he applies the lightest bit of pressure to make sure he gets the point across, I feel how precautiously overbalanced I am, even without the added effects of the alcohol. There's no doubt in my mind that Gabe could put me into the chair as easily as he says. Fine. I turn and slump into the chair suddenly. That's all. Good choice. Now, it won't be a minute. Then we can talk about what got you into this state. You should probably think about what you're going to say, because I'll tell you, boy, I've both seen and participated in enough benders to know that it wasn't getting whooped by a tree thrown down against a couple of planks that set this off. You just sit there and think about it. For the next couple of minutes, I sit in my chair, glaring venomously towards the kitchen as I hear Gabe clattering about. "Hey, Mike, where'd you keep your coffee?" "Grounds are on the top shelf of the fridge. Fillers are in the cabinet above the pot." "Got it, thanks." Finally, I sigh and inwardly concede defeat. It's obvious that Gabe isn't going anywhere, and I'm in no position to do anything about it. I settle back more comfortably into the chair and close my eyes, mentally trying to halt the room's slow spin. Think about what I'm going to say. The man makes a good point. I need to figure out how I can successfully appease Gabe's annoyingly friendly concern without coming off sounding like a drug addict or a mental patient. Relating the events as I actually remember them occurring sure isn't going to cut it. I found that out the hard way 3 years ago. All telling the truth then got me 6 months of psychiatric evaluations, a lifetime's worth of bad dreams, and a truckload of self-doubt and loathing. Trying to tell Gabe that I had disembodied voices in my head giving me instructions and was subsequently attacked by a giant nightmare creature, a disturbingly creepy old man, and a couple of druggies would go over about as well as trying to throw him out, if less physically painful. Best case scenario, he just thinks I'm crazy, tells me to get some sleep, and I lose a perfectly good friend. Worst, he assumes I'm strung out on something and hauls me down to the drunk tank at the police station to sober up. Gabe re-enters the living room, holding 2 steaming mugs, and hands me one. He pops open the camp chair I kept against the wall for company and positions himself across from me. Taking a sip, he grimaces. "That's some terrible shit. Now then, Mike, I believe you're going to regale me the facts concerning your current position." I look at the man facing me, and an overwhelming feeling of helplessness swells from deep inside my chest. There was a time I would have told Gabe everything, and I've been down that road before. Sharing my truth would only cause more pain, and I can't lose the only friends I still have. At the same time, although Gabe may talk like an hayseed country boy, he's savvy enough to spot if I try to lie. But maybe part of the truth will be enough. I stare into the mug I cradle in my hands. "I almost killed a boy tonight," I say softly, almost whispering. "The punks who jumped me, they were 16 if they were a day. And I almost killed one of them. The hell, I wanted to kill him, or at least a part of me did. I stopped them easily enough, had them beaten. But then, the gun was to his head, and I thought, just for a second, how easy it would be. That I could get away with it. That it was maybe even the right thing to do. I look up, tears in my eyes. What I'm telling Gabe might not be the whole truth, but the emotions are real just the same. There's a darkness in me, Gabe. A darkness that I brought back with me from that shithole in Iraq. At some point it's gonna get out, and it scares the shit out of me what might happen when it does. Gabe keeps his gaze fixed on me, a thoughtful look upon his face. "Well, you know what your problem is, right?" He looks at me expectantly. "PTSD, you idiot." Gabe takes another sip of his horrible coffee and continues. "Shit, Mac, that ain't nothing to be ashamed of. Hell, half of those grunts that come back in one piece on the surface got some kind of shit rattling loose up there. And who wouldn't? Not many folks seen what we've seen, or felt what we felt." That gets my attention. Could Gabe possibly have experienced the same horrors as me? "And what's that?" I ask. He smiles. "Well, combat, of course. The very real notion that another human being is doing their damnedest to make sure you don't come out alive. And on the flip side, that you've snuffed out the potential of another person, everything they could have ever been gone in an instant by your hand. Mike, you remember how I told you about Billy dying? Well, there's a part of that story I maybe sort of held back a little. Now, don't go getting all bent out of shape. I didn't know you as well back then, but I do now. He shifts in his camp chair, pausing as if to collect his thoughts, before continuing. I found her, Mike. I found the son of a bitch that killed my boy. Wasn't hard. Went to a few places cops were reluctant to go. Spread a little cash, a few gas kickings. Those fucking animals will sell out their own for almost nothing. Eventually I talked to the right guy who graciously led me to the flop house my boy's killer was holed up in. When I found him, the little bitch was high on something, laying there. He was in no position to do anything to stop what I was about to do to him. Yeah. He was so far gone he maybe didn't even know I was there. Had my pistol to his head, probably pretty similar to how you did tonight. You know what I did? I shook my head. Not a goddamn thing. The bastard had killed my boy in my hands and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't, Mac. The tears welling in the old NCO's eyes, slight tremor in his voice. Now, I'm gonna tell you something, and you listen to me good. Wanting to kill someone, especially some evil motherfucker that'd probably do the same and worse to you if given the chance, that doesn't make you evil. Hell, Mike, that makes you human. He wipes the back of his hand across his eyes. Billy died and tore me up for a good long time. I thought maybe his killer getting the same might be what it took to bring me back around. But in the end, it wasn't. It was facing the anger, Mike, facing the rage and the fear. Letting it get bottled up inside only served to feed it. Gabe gets to his feet. Now, I don't know specifically what you done or seen over there. Don't really much care either. The only thing I know is that you gotta face it. Admit what happened to yourself, or it'll destroy you. He moves to the door and opens it, stopping halfway through it. I'm gonna go home, Mike. I'm gonna leave you here. You're a grown-ass man and more than capable of deciding whether you keep going down this path. He indicates to a pile of bottles. Or actually try to get better. You're a good man, Mike. And I hate to see anything get in the way of that. My friend leaves. I sit there staring into the space of my almost empty apartment for what seems like a long time. Finally, I make a decision. I get up and throw the bolts on the security door and set the alarm. I go to the kitchen, find a trash bag under the sink, and clean up the remains of my evening. I throw out the sludge in the pot. Gabe is a man of many talents, but brewing coffee is definitely not one of them. I undress, get into bed, and lay there for a few long moments, staring at the ceiling. If only Gabe. If only it was another human being trying to kill me that I was worried about.
I take the stairs 2 by 2 coming home from Granny's funeral. A witch, they'd call her, the superstitious fools. So relieved at her passing, they'd never thought to investigate its odd suddenness. Not that they would have found anything. Done in a few moments with a thick pillow where she slept, her gnarled hands grasping at my wrists, ancient lungs struggling to capture the barest breath, was hardly an effort and left no evidence of foul play. I reached the landing intent upon my prize, the treasure she kept locked in her room. The old metal key that, in life, never left the cord about her neck, now held in my hand. No fool myself, I waited until sure I was overlooked for mischief before attempting to secure the wealth, now rightfully, if treacherously, mine. I pause, wary. The door to Granny's room, the door I'm sure I closed before leaving for the churchyard, stands cracked open. Thieves, then, aware of the rumours of her great fortune and seeking my inheritance as their own. They'll have no chance without the key, and I'll not be handing that over. I draw the small pistol from my pocket and edge silently down the hall. Bursting through the door, ready to do violence, I stop, suddenly unsure. A figure sits in Granny's old rocker, its back to me. But from where I stand, I can see a twisting hand clutching the chair arm, hear laboured breathing crackling from its chest. A laugh, dry as snapping twigs or rattling bones, issues from a mouth of worn leather. The chair slowly begins to turn. Abruptly, I awake, sprawled in my bed, tangled amidst the sheets. The memory of the nightmare that must have woken me has already faded from my brain. Granny calls from the next room, the sound of her voice causing an unbidden wave of disgust to issue from deep within my chest. Reflexively, my hands tighten upon my pillow and, reaching a decision I've long been considering, I rise from the bed. My gaze fixed upon the door. A smile threatens to tug at the corners of my lips. The thought of wealth soon to be mine playing across the surface of my mind. Yet still, as I creep from the room, I'm plagued by the most nagging feeling that I've done this before.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing. And if you're an animal lover like me, please consider donating to the World Land Trust, a charity that aims to help wildlife through buying land, preventing development, and helping endangered species.